Today, we are dreaming big about books and reading and our magical, amazing libraries that we want to have in the future if nothing was preventing us from having them. I was tagged in the In Your Wildest Dreams tag by Tristan from Elspaced Books. I appreciate the tag. I've not seen this tag around yet, so I am really excited to do this one. Heather from Heather Reads is the original creator of the tag. I will have her a video linked in the description. I really enjoyed her ideas about her reading preferences and libraries and all of that, so I recommend watching it. And with that, let's get into the tag. So question 1 is your favorite time and place to read a book. So in my real life, my favorite place to read a book is either in my bed or on my couch. And I often read in the evenings. But that's mostly because that's when I have time to read. So I guess if we're going to try to think big, we're going to think like if there were no restrictions, when would I be reading and where would I be reading? So I guess I would read like all day long. Probably. Maybe in like late morning, early afternoon time period, and I would be reading in a massive library, but like a library that has a window seat built into the shelves. So there's books like all around you, but then you're like sitting in this window seat, you have lots of natural light and you're reading. And ideally, someone else is taking care of food or food has already been like pre-prepped, because particularly afternoon time, late morning time, that's when I'm thinking about what are we eating today? I spend way too much time like meal planning and preparing food. I try to meal plan for like several days at a time, but I usually end up making food like several of those days. So that cuts into my sitting down and reading time. Now, I often listen to audiobooks whenever I do that, or I turn on Booktube whenever I'm making those meals as like something to accompany me in the background while I'm doing that. So like, it's not necessarily a negative. I do fill that time. But, if I'm going to sit down and read all day, then I want to not have those responsibilities. So question number 2 is your fantasy personal library. And I want the library from Beauty and the Beast. I want a castle. I want tall bookshelves. I want a ladder to climb up and pick off books off the bookshelf. Also, this is probably where I would be reading with my window seat carved in the shelves with like natural light into the room. There should also be a courtyard off of the library room where you have you can go sit outside there's probably some like very green plants or trees or something. There's definitely a tree that gives you some shade that you can also sit outside and read if the weather's nice. And then there's going to be another room. Also, we have a large library, and then probably one of the shelves, if you pull a particular book off, it opens this door into another room that has even more books. This is my dream. My dream library is just like an actual, maybe it's not a large room with a whole bunch of books. Maybe it's just like a single wall with a nice bookcase. Like it looks nice. It looks like it could be a nice personal collection. But then there's this particular book that you pull off that reveals this door behind the bookcase. We're dreaming big here because that's what I like to do whenever I think about all of this. The room behind the bookcase is the one that should have the window seat in the bookshelf, because that would also give you some natural light, so it's not just like a cave in there. And you could close the secret door and then not be disturbed, because the one thing you don't want happening whenever you're reading is people disturbing you. So it would give you a nice private reading area and library. In my wildest dreams, this is never going to happen in real life. But in my wildest dreams, that is my library. Question 3 is, imagine you have decided to build a bookshop. What would you call it? Would it sell new or secondhand books? Would it sell anything else? What features would you want in that bookshop? So I'm thinking my bookshop would be, my personal library is like, you know, kind of castle-esque. But a bookshop, I would probably go more modern architecture style, very open space, lots of natural light, lots of windows, very airy. Of course, natural light and books like that can be a little bit of a problem if like you could have fading on the spines of books. So I probably want to like strategically plan where the light comes in versus where the books are located. I would definitely have a bakery attached to this bookshop. So you could come in and buy your books and read. And maybe there would be like a little free library in the bakery if you like you don't want to purchase a book, but you can like pick something from the little free library and sit and drink coffee or tea or hot chocolate or whatever your preferred beverage is and have a pastry and read your book. I think I would go with like a secondhand bookshop, but I was thinking about this and going, why not a consignment model bookshop? I've never seen consignment as a model for a bookshop, but I think it would work. Like people could bring in their books. And so consignment is like basically you are, how do you explain consignment? I've seen consignment for clothing. So if you have clothing that you don't need anymore, but is still pretty nice, you can take it to the consignment store and they will like tag everything with your ID number or whatever on it. And then whenever that item is sold, you get half of the price and the shop gets half the price because like the shop's the one that displayed it and sold it for you, but you're the one who brought it in. So then you get like half the money and they get half the money. So I think that would work for books, particularly people who are like vivacious readers who purchase a lot of their books could bring their books to this consignment store and, you know, they would still get some of their money back for the book. And the bookshop would also get some of the money so that way they can continue to run the bookshop. So I think it could work. Question number 4 is one person, not a Booktube creator, with whom you can have a good conversation about books. If you don't know a person like this, who do you know that you wish would become a reader so that you could talk about books with them? So I actually have some people in my life now that I can talk about books to some extent with. I work at the library and I can talk about books with my coworkers to some extent. We don't all read the same genres, so we're not necessarily all reading the same books, although there is another coworker there who also enjoys science fiction and fantasy. We tend to have like different tastes in science fiction and fantasy, but it's still fun to talk about stories together. And I have other coworkers who don't read science fiction and fantasy, but we still enjoy discussing stories together. My sister doesn't actually read very much, but she watches like more like TV and movies, and then we will often discuss those together. So she's someone who's like really good to talk about stories with. And then whenever she occasionally reads a book that I recommend, it's really nice to talk about books with her as well. So that's really nice. And then my partner, he reads a lot more, but he reads very different books than I do. But we do have some overlap in our reading taste. And I enjoy talking about books with him too. So I do have some people in my life. Now, of course, I could wish that they all read more books and agreed with me on all of my opinions so we could like discuss books at length about all the books that I love. But I'm still happy that I get to talk with people in my life about books. And I'm also happy that I have this YouTube channel because then I can talk in length about the books that I like that they might not care about reading. Question number 5 is, if you won $1 million and you could only spend it on books or book-related items, how would you spend it? So I've thought about this question a little bit, and I could start a decent start to my library. I could get a good bookshelf, and maybe I would buy special edition books or something and start my library, but then I would need a place to put it. I'm currently in a 1-bedroom apartment that doesn't have that much space for books. So then I think, well, I should be working on buying my castle or starting my bookshop. But honestly, $1 million isn't going to get me very far with either a castle or a bookshop. At least where I live, whenever I look at houses being sold for $1 million, there are no castles. So I was thinking that maybe I would invest the money, and then within several years, maybe I'd be able to start my bookshop or start thinking about my castle, whether or not I'm purchasing one or I'm building one. I'd probably build it because I want, all of my particular quirks. But then I watched Heather's answer to this question on the tag, and she said she would give some of the money to her local library. And I was like, oh my gosh, as someone who works at the library, why was that not my first thought? I would absolutely do that. And then I would probably go a step further. And you know those funds that like rich people can set up whenever, I guess whenever they die, I think is usually when they're set up. I actually don't know how they're set up, but they just like have a lot of money in them. And then the organization that they're donating it to can't ever dip into the full thing because they have to at least invest the majority of it. But anything they earn from that investment, they can use that money. I would love to do something like that because then that's something that continues donating long after your initial donation. Although I might like talk to the library and ask them how they would best use those funds because like maybe they need a lot of money right now because they're short on something. Maybe there's building repairs or something like that that they have to fix. So, you know, I would want to talk to them and figure out what's best, but I very much believe in investing in the next generation of readers. Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's probably where, like, if I got $1 million today, let's be realistic. My castle dream is probably never going to happen, and I'm not likely to open a bookshop. So absolutely investing the next generation of readers is the way to go for me. And question 6 is to tag people. And I am tagging Mare from Lady Mare Reads. Mare has been screaming about The Will of the Many enough that I picked it up, and now I'm screaming about it. We all honestly seem to have pretty similar tastes, so I am super excited that she is starting her channel again. So you should definitely go check her out. I am also tagging Chaz from Bookish Chaz. He is genuinely one of the nicest humans on Booktube, and I am thankful that I get to call him my friend. And I am tagging Sam from Sam Harrison. Sam is always fun to chat with, and he puts up videos like almost every single day, and he reads so much, so fast. I am honestly impressed. So go check out all of their channels. If you are not tagged, feel free to do this tag, and I would love if you tag me so I could see your answers, and I hope to see you in another video. Happy reading!